All right, wonderful. Good evening. We're so glad you joined us tonight. My name is Lizzie Kim, and I'm the moderator of this evening's forum. This forum is sponsored by Arizona State University and the Citizens Clean Election Commission. By way of information, ASU is a nonpartisan organization. That is, ASU neither supports nor opposes any candidate of any political party. And for this reason, the Clean Elections Commission has chosen ASU to conduct its candidate forums in Legislative District 24. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance measure which was passed by Arizona voters in 1998. Participation as a clean elections candidate is strictly voluntary. The system provides full public funding for qualified candidates who illustrate the support of their constituents by gathering $5 qualifying contributions from registered voters in their legislative districts. The candidates must also adhere to contribution and spending limits and may not accept money from special interest groups. And they agree to participate in these forums. This election cycle, the Citizens Clean Commission has also invited traditional campaigning candidates to participate. Let's go on to the process that we'll use tonight. This evening we have two of our clean elections candidates present with us, Mr. Bill Follette and Ms. Leila, did I pronounce that right? Lei Lani, excuse me. We practiced that beforehand and I still messed that up. Lei Lani Cortez, thank you so much. Now, this evening we will start with a opening statement from each candidate, which will last 3 minutes. Then audience members will, we will open the floor to audience members who may present questions. The questions will be given, we'll ask that you provide those questions in written format. There are cards here on the side, and if you hold up your cards, one of our volunteers will pick it up and deliver it to me. We screen the questions for clarity, to eliminate duplications, speeches, and personal attacks on candidates. If you need another card, just hold up your hand and a volunteer will bring it to you. There's an independent timer who will see that all of the candidates have an equal time for answers to questions and will notify them when the time is up. And the candidates, there we are, there is your timer. We ask that you remain polite to all the candidates and give them a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you may agree or disagree with anything that's being said. This means, please, no applause, no outbursts, no cheers. This means it is especially important. This is especially important as post-captioning services will be made available after the debate for those individuals who are hard of hearing. As such, I will refer to each candidate by their full name prior to each question and ask the candidates to speak clearly into their microphones. Also, before we get started, we ask everyone to please silence any mobile phones or other electronic devices you may have with you. Our format this evening will be, as I said, opening statements, 2 minutes answer, and 3 minutes for closing statements. The candidates this evening running for the Senate, who is present with us tonight, is Mr. Bill Follette of the Republican Party.
Good evening.
Welcome. The candidate this evening running for the House of Representatives is Ms. Lei Lani Cortez, also Republican. Thank you. The order in which the candidates will speak is determined alphabetically by last name and will progress from that starting point. But Bill, I suppose that really means you, but, oh, no, that means Ms. Cortez. The closing then will be in reverse order. Ms. Cortez, would you like to start us off with your opening statement?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting me here today. I am a traditional candidate, not clean elections, but I relish the opportunity to come in and speak to you today and answer your questions. Again, my name is Lei Lani Cortez, and I'm running for the House of Representatives in District 24. I am a native of Arizona, and I was brought up in this district. From the middle of the district, I was born at Good Samaritan Hospital, which is almost dead center. And so I've been here a long time. When I was a youngster, my dad would take me down to the government buildings, and we would sit in the gallery and watch the politicians as they did their work. Not unlike today, there was a lot of conversation on the floor and debate, but what's not happening today that happened in the old days was the fact that once they left the Capitol and the government buildings, they would meet afterwards, go have a few drinks, and socialize and be able to learn to know each other and understand what the issues were and work for the betterment of the state of Arizona. And I think we need to get back to that once again. I'm here because of my background. I'm a project manager and business analyst. My job is to be given an issue or a problem and go out and find the appropriate people to solve this problem. And I believe today that's what we need in government. We need somebody who can come in, take a look at the issues of today, and identify the best people to come in and help us solve those problems, not try ourselves to solve every problem, because we are not the end-all to all questions. So I'm here as a people's candidate, not as an individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. Mr. Follette.
Good evening. I would like to first thank the Clean Elections and ASU for putting on this event, and thank everybody in attendance here in person and everybody that's watching on the internet. My name is Bill Follette. I am running for State Senate, LD24, and I'm here to ask for your vote. Look, I'm not a politician by trade. I'm a firefighter by trade. I grew up, born and raised here in Arizona. Starting at the age of 15, I started lifeguarding at a Canto pool with the city of Phoenix, progressing to my career as a firefighter paramedic here in the Valley. Being elected to office would give me the opportunity to broaden these efforts of protecting the public. Once elected, my job is to represent you, regardless if you're Republican, Democrat, any party there is, independent. It's to represent the district and not the party. So once elected, I'm the voice of the people and not of my own personal beliefs. You need to take the beliefs of the entire district, which is a very wide-ranging district, from Pima Road to 19th Avenue, and it's very diverse. So with that, I would bring the diversity from the district to the State House, to the State Senate, and express their views and not my personal beliefs. I'm fiscally conservative, yet not fanatical. I believe that in politics today is getting out of hand what's happening down there at the Capitol. We're concentrating on federal efforts to overturn federal law, wasting a lot of time, effort, money in litigation doing that, and we're also concentrating too much on social issues. We need to get back to what the responsibility of the House and Senate is, and that's balancing the budget and using our tax dollars wisely. Thank you.
So, Mr. Follette, thank you for your service as a firefighter to our community. And I'll start out saying that I think generally our community always likes to know more about our candidates. So could you tell us what inspired you, what made you decide to run for office?
Very good question. I think I got knocked in the head, but no, in all seriousness, what made me decide to run for office is I've always been interested in politics. I've never been involved in politics. The closest I've come to being involved into politics was serving on City of Scottsdale's Building Advisory Board of Appeals. That's the closest thing I came. With this election coming up, I was getting more involved, interested in the candidates that were going to be running, and I discovered that in our district for state senate, there was only one candidate running, and that was the incumbent. I thought to myself, everybody needs a choice in every election. Regardless of who's running, there should always be a choice. The other issue, like I kind of mentioned in my opening statement, is I've seen the politics get out of hand into other areas. The politicians are trying to make names for themselves and, getting into trying to always garner money for their political committees, for the next election and the next vote and the next 2 years. I'm not that way. I have no corporate backing. It's all self-funded money for me. So when elected, I won't owe anybody any personal favors other than the people that elected me in my district, and that's who we should be representing.
Thank you. Ms. Cortez, the same question. What inspired you and what made you decide to run for office?
Well, actually, I was a president for International Women's Group, and for 12 months I traveled all over the country, and when I got back I thought, I'm kind of bored. So it seemed like politics was the next avenue for me to go in. At first I thought I wanted to help on somebody's political campaign, and then I was approached to actually run for office myself. And taking a look at what I can offer to the state of Arizona, bringing a sense of business. I have an undergrad in business. I have a master's in education. I'm a project manager by trade and business analyst. And again, as I said in my opening statements, part of what I do is going out there and being handed a problem and then finding the appropriate people to come up with a solution to solve that problem or issue. And that's what I want to bring to my candidacy should I be elected. And that's why I'm running, because I think I have that ability to do that. I have the ability to reach across the aisle and bring the appropriate people together. I'm not party-driven, although I am a conservative, but I've got many sides and facets to my personality, which I think will cover every facet of the electorate.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. And then you'll get this next question first, Ms. Cortez. How do you feel about your opponent's absence here today?
You know, I can't speak for my opponent, and I really don't have any feeling about that personally. All I know is I want to be here to take questions from the people. I'm really not running against my opponents. I'm running for office, and I want to be able to be available to the public and answer their questions. So I wish them luck, but I'm here to answer the questions of the people.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. Mr. Follette, the same question. How do you feel about your opponent's absence this evening?
Well, I was personally hoping that we would have a full panel up here so the citizens that came out to view or are viewing it online actually had a compare and contrast of what candidates are trying to represent. With that said, it's unfortunate that my opponent wasn't able to make it. I do know, it's funny that that's asked because I know that there was an event in Paradise Valley. It's a fine wine, fine appetizers, drinks, music, valet parking going on. And according to that event, my opponent is RSVP to that when was unable to be here with their constituents in our district. So I wish they were here so we can have some compare and contrast going on, but unfortunately we don't have that ability.
Okay, so Mr. Follette, you get this next question first. I hope you all have sufficient water. I think we'll be talking a lot. How will you, or what is your plan to help fund education in Arizona, public education and education in Arizona?
Well, that's another great question. The budget in general, including education, which is 41% of our state budget, is in the deficit right now. According to the facts and figures that are the most current, we're looking at a $282 million deficit this fiscal 2014 and a $765 million deficit fiscal 2015. And that with those deficit numbers is taking into account the payment that's ordered by the court. With the funding of all the organizations and education specifically, right now, depending on the district, it can be as high as 50 cents, 55 cents of every dollar is being spent on administrative costs. And that, to me, is astronomical. We need to lower that number drastically. That would be one of my first steps in the Senate, is to legislatively mandate that we cut that number immediately to 35% for administrative costs in education. so we can get the rest of that money in the classroom to not the kids and the teachers that money is intended for. I spoke to Tim Leedy with Ball's School District, which is a very small district in our legislative district. They have approximately 2,600 students, a little bit over that, with a $25 million budget. And of that $25 million, 14.5, according to him, is going to maintenance operations. We need to drastically reduce that number, like I said, and get it into the classrooms so the teachers aren't paying for supplies, the kids have adequate supplies, adequate teachers, and the pay for teachers is there, instead of paying for administration and administrators and superintendents and vice superintendents and assistant superintendents. Thank you.
All right, and same question, Ms. Cortez.
Could you repeat that?
Yes, how would you, what is your plan to fund education, public education in Arizona?
Well, there's a couple of different things that we can do. First of all, I'd probably bring up the bill to get our public lands back. If you look at other states that have gained the control of their public lands, they reap an average of $23 and some cents per acre profit. That's going into the coffers, where when the federal government is running it, it's actually losing 91 cents. So if we could bring the tax revenues from the public lands that we could get back into the state of Arizona, we could fund our education. We wouldn't have a problem then. Not only that, we could probably lower our property tax and thereby bringing more business into the state of Arizona. A lot of our problems has been caused from the standpoint that we don't actually, our unemployment is so high right now, and it's not bringing what we need into the state of Arizona and the coffers because people aren't working. So if we can bring the taxes, property taxes down, bring businesses into the state of Arizona, bringing more money into the state general fund, that'll allow us to have the money there needed to fund our education. Not only that, we need to stop changing how we address standards every 7 to 10 years. I agree we need standards, but I think we ought to identify what's wrong with the standards we have today, fix it, and not try to implement a new one every time and then have to buy all new school books and that, which cuts into their funds.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. I'm going to take the moderator's prerogative because I think the members of the audience and probably the members on the internet will have this short follow-up question for you. You mentioned that one of the primary methods of doing this was to increase the public lands, the state public lands, in particular, get income from them, and particularly with regard to federal land. Could you clarify a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Okay, this goes back to the Revolutionary War, when the colonies put in trust all properties and lands west of the colonies, and it was so that they could pay for the Revolutionary War. Well, it's been a long time since it's been paid for, and our federal government has had trust of that. A lot of people say it's unconstitutional for us to want our public lands back, but in 1932, all states north or east of Colorado were given their public lands back when they had bills put forth. Originally, the federal government said, no, we'll give you the federal lands back, but all mineral rights and everything underneath it will stay with the federal government. They said, no, we want everything. So if we had that same ability, look at what's happening in North Dakota today. They have, 2% unemployment or even less than that. Their coffers are running over. Their educational systems is advancing. We have the same opportunity. Today down in Tucson, there's been a mining company who's been trying to get their passed so that they could start their mining. And it's been stopped by the federal government. So I believe if we have the right and control over our federal lands, then we can take control of it and put that money into the state of Arizona.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Cortez. All right. I'm going to ask one that came from the audience that's relatively specific. Ms. Cortez, this question is, do you support licensing animal boarding facilities?
That's an interesting question. You know, I'm not sure I had really thought about that, but
Did warn you it was specific.
I did. I haven't really thought about that, but I think we need to take some control over certain things, but I'm not sure registering animal boarding facilities is part of what government should be zoning in on. I believe we have other things that are covering that with animal cruelty, where they could be, addressed from that standpoint, rather than spending our time and resources in having them certified.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. Mr. Follette, the same question. Do you support licensing animal boarding facilities?
Well, myself as a dog owner with 2 dogs, I'm a pet lover. With that question, talking to my constituents, because that issue has hit the news lately in Gilbert and that area with the boarding facility, with the unfortunate deaths of those dogs. Talking with the members of the public, other dog owners, other pet owners, I feel that something needs to be done, like Ms. Cortez here. How much government reach do we want to go and control on this issue? I believe that there needs to be something drawn up and some type of control. And not only for the pet safety and the owners, they're the loved ones of the owners, but also for the community itself. How many people want to live next to a house that maybe is boarding dogs and may have 200 pets there? You have noise and odors that go along with that. So I feel that there needs to be some type of ordinance, or I don't know, as far as licensing, maybe tied into the business license itself, make it part of the business license specific, like we do with other industries, and checks and balances with that, proper insurance, proper, facilities. I mean, for the home daycares and stuff, I know from my experience volunteering way back when with the City of Phoenix Fire Department, I'd go out and do inspections on these home daycares to see if it was safe and for the children that the parents were entrusting them. Maybe we can work something in that type of program in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Follette. Another question from our audience. Mr. Follette, our legislators have stated they will work to bring high-tech and renewable energy jobs to Arizona. Do you think the legislature has been successful in doing this? And if not, do you have a plan to attract these type of jobs to Arizona and our district?
The first part of the question, have they been successful? Yes and no. One of the successes that everybody knows about is the new Apple plant out in Mesa area. SkySung is another success for trying to innovate and bring in that type of business and clientele. Unsuccessful is the numbers just haven't been there. And every success is put out there, but the numbers aren't there what I would like to see in attracting it. And in doing so, to attract these businesses, we need to make Arizona business friendly. We need to cut down on a lot of the regulations that are detracting businesses, trying to import these businesses that are jumping out of California, and they're actually going right over us to New Mexico and Texas. That's a lot of revenue for the state of Arizona. Why aren't we making a push in attracting these companies here? The Tesla battery plant would have been a great opportunity for the state of Arizona to bring income and jobs and high qualified jobs to the state of Arizona. Unfortunately, we missed out on that. So in the future, and more specifically to our district, I am very district minded, and any business that we can bring into our district would be great, including the small businesses. We talk about these high-tech companies like Tesla or Apple. They don't have to be 5,000 people jobs. They can be a small business in a strip center. And that will increase the revenue to Arizona. It will increase jobs, local jobs to the people in our district. And it will also help with the blight. The more businesses that infill in our district also clean it up because they want to move into a building, repaint it, remodel it, and it's attractive to the community and all its members.
Thank you, Mr. Follette. Ms. Cortez, the same question. Our legislators have stated that they want to bring more high-tech and renewable energy jobs to Arizona. Do you think that they've been successful? And if not, what would you do or plan to do to attract these type of jobs to our district and our state?
I think we need to take a play out of Rick Perry's playbook, and we need to be out there. One, we need to bring the taxes down for the state of Arizona so it makes it attractive for businesses to come in here. The other thing is that we need to actually go out there actively engaging these different companies and talking to them. My understanding is Rick Perry is on the phone about 4 hours a day talking to other companies, and I think we need people in our state government who's willing to go out there and put that time in to call these companies and let them know how attractive Arizona is to them and make it bring down the regulations that we've got out there, or certainly make sure that we don't impose them with any more regulations. And that way, they'll come to Arizona, it'll help our tax base out, and we'll be a thriving state one more time.
Thank you. Ms. Cortez, a question for the audience, from the audience. What are your top 3 priorities were you to be elected into this office?
Well, I really think we need to look at education, as I said earlier. Today, again, we spend so much in bringing different types of standard testing into this state. Right now they've got AIMS. Now they're looking at bringing in Common Core. You know, my top thing is looking at how we bring in standards to the state of Arizona for our children. I believe, again, we need to look at what's currently in place, what's not working, fix that so we're not draining the schools of their budget and that money is going down into the classrooms. The other thing my other priority is looking at, you know, how we can service our constituents out there and making sure that we get out and talk to the people. Because today I'm feeling that, you know, when's the last time anybody had a politician come up and ask them what their issues were? And I think we need to turn that around and be out in the community asking them, you know, what are your issues? Not so much what my priorities are, because I know what that is, but I'm not just representing myself. I'm representing the constituents of the state of Arizona, and not just of my district, but the whole state of Arizona. So when I am elected, I will be going around and having meetings around my district to find out what those issues are from the people and bring the government back to the people rather than the politicians.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. Mr. Follette, the same question. Were you to be elected, what would be your top 3 priorities in office?
Well, when elected, the very number 1 top priority, and which is constitutionally written, what the job and the priority of the state legislature is balancing the budget. We always will have a balanced budget because we have to. Meaning, you know, lately we've been having cuts and stuff in the budget, but they have to have a balanced budget. So that's the first and foremost individual thing that we need to concentrate on. With that includes in that budget, like I mentioned before, with the 41% in education, and how we're going to strive to balance the budget and help education. Mentioning before that 35%, cutting down administrative costs originally the first year to 35% and going down from there. I think we can do that across the board in other departments. Even in public safety, which is another main issue that I feel very passionate about, being a retired firefighter. But not only that, it brings a sense of safety to our community. So how do we do that? There's administrative costs in public safety. We're heavy at the top lot on that, and getting more officers in the streets, and instead of having more bureaucrats in the office telling the officers where to go and what to do. The other issue is bringing jobs back to our district. That is, and our state for that matter. We need to bring the jobs, and that brings the economy up. It brings the tax base up, not only corporate tax, you also have the personal tax, income tax, and it gives pride in the community when people are going to work instead of sitting out there or going around trying to find a job. If they're actually going to work instead of every day trying to find a job, it just brings up the morale and it brings up the community. The blight lessens, all the revenue goes up, and we're able to afford the resources that Arizona, I'm getting the time sign, sorry. Thank you.
Well, as it turns out, this actually is the last of our questions this evening. And so as you all take a breather, we'll be moving on then to our closing statements from our candidates. It is the chance for our candidates to give our audience here and on the internet some final statements about who they are to our community in Legislative District 24, what they'd like to do, and what they stand for. Now, in reverse alphabetical order, we'll start then with Mr. Follette.
Thank you. Well, I hope I was able to answer the questions and concerns that were brought forth from the audience and for the viewers at home. Hopefully it gave you a little bit more insight about where I'm coming from and where I stand. And my beliefs, not being my beliefs like Ms. Cortez said, but the beliefs of the district is what I want to represent. It's regardless of what political party you're affiliated with, what ideas you have. If they're great ideas, let's bring them forth to the elected officials and have the elected official take it to the legislature and let's get it passed. Let's bring the economy back to Arizona. Let's bring the jobs back. Let's bring our education from different levels that the reports are D-, D+, depending on the area of education. Let's bring that up to an A+. That would be our goal. I believe that once elected, in any state senator's job is to represent the people. Regardless of my personal belief, standings, it's to get back to that and be available to the people. My telephone number is readily available online. It's on all my business cards. It's my personal phone number. My email address, you can email me at any time at it's bill@billfollette.org. That's BILLFOLLETTE. There again, my name is Bill Follette, and I'm here to ask for your vote for State Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Follette. So then we'll move on to Ms. Cortez.
Once again, thank you very much for having us here this evening. I've really enjoyed this. As I said earlier, I want to bring government back to the people. I plan, when I'm elected, to go out and talk to my constituents, find out what their issues are. Prior to starting my run, I actually went out and ran 3 surveys, and they all came back pretty consistent. It was the jobs, the economy, health care, immigration, and education. I can't do anything too much about health care and immigration, but I certainly will work hard to live up to the people in the state of Arizona and my constituents to bring the economy back to the state of Arizona, raise our educational standards, and help us in the job market. I believe that we need to be more accessible to our constituents. I've tried many times in the past few years to get a hold of the politicians that were in office, and not just from the Democratic Party, but also the Republican Party. And I don't think I've ever received a call back from the politician themselves. If I received a call back, it's been from one of their interns in the office or somebody else in the office. So I plan to be there, like Bill, to answer those people's questions. I've already started to set up a network of places around the district where I will be available on a regular basis for my constituents to come in and talk to me. Let me know what their issues are. You know, and I can tell you one thing, you may not always agree with the way I vote or with what I'm doing, but I will always be accountable for why I voted the way I did, and I'll always be willing to answer those questions and let my constituents know that I'm there for them and not myself. Thank you.
All right, there you go to our audience here and on the internet. Ms. Lei Lani Cortez, candidate for House of Representative, and Mr. Bill Follette, our candidate for the Senate, all in District 24. We thank you for your participation in tonight's forum. And of course, to our audience then, we thank you all who took the time to come tonight to inform yourselves before voting. We encourage you to find out more about clean elections and the candidates running this for this office and others by visiting the Clean Elections website at www.azcleanelections.gov. Now, a video of this forum, as well as the other clean election fora, will be posted on that website within 72 hours of the actual forum. We also encourage you to complete the survey you received when you arrived and return it to the registration table. If you didn't receive one, they're available here on the side. So thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to our candidates. Thank you to the audience. Good night and God bless.